Hello, wonderful person watching this video. Welcome to my oral presentation for IP364, Philippine Popular Culture, covering modules 1 and 2. For this presentation, I wanted to try something a little different. Instead of using a traditional slideshow, I decided to create a video inspired by the popular Draw My Life format. As I draw, I'll be sharing what I learned from modules 1 and 2, along with my own reflections on popular culture, representation, and Filipino identity. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my Draw My Life presentation on Who Holds the Pencil? My Journey Through Popular Culture and Filipino Identity, Part 1. Before taking modules 1 and 2, I thought pop culture was mostly just about entertainment. You know, the movies we watch, the songs that get stuck in our heads, the clothes people suddenly start wearing, and also just the social media trends that somehow convince everyone, including myself, to do the same kind of dance like TikTok. Basically, I thought popular culture was just the fun stuff we consume during our free time. But after reading these modules, I realized that popular culture is much more powerful than I originally thought. Culture is not only found in museums, or textbooks, or major celebrations. It is also found in ordinary life. It appears in the language we speak, the food we eat, the jokes we understand, the music we enjoy, and the traditions our families continue. Even the things we consider normal are influenced by culture. Popular culture is especially powerful because it reaches large groups of people. When the same images and messages appear repeatedly, they can begin to shape how we understand the world itself. It can influence what we consider modern, civilized, or even Filipino. So yes, the television might be entertaining us, but it might also be quietly teaching us something. Sneaky television, that is. Module 1 taught me that not everyone has the same amount of power when making a pop culture. Well, a pop culture. The government, schools, museums, media companies like Snapchat, Instagram, and Facebook, and other things, and other institutions have the resources to decide which stories are shown to the public eye. Mostly, someone who doom scrolls through the internet, like me. Because of this, I learned to ask questions like, who created this image? Who controls the story? Who benefits from the way it is presented? And whose voice is missing? These questions change on how I look at social media today. Now, I cannot watch something and just move on. My brain has become the one person during a movie who keeps asking questions, and yes, I can be that annoying person. These ideas became important when studying Philippine colonial history. Spanish and American colonialism did not only control Philippine land and government. Colonialism also influenced education, religion, and language, and also just the beauty standards and ideas about success and progression through life. Western culture was often presented as modern and much more smarter and civilized over our own identity. And meanwhile, Filipino and indigenous culture were often described as primitive, backward, or inferior. When these messages are repeated and taught to generations, like to kids today, people may begin to believe them, especially to our reliance on social media these days. This points out on the topic of colonial mentality, where foreign culture is treated as naturally better than one's own culture. One of the strongest examples of colonial representation was the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. At the fair, indigenous Filipinos and other Philippine groups were placed inside constructed villages and displayed before American audiences' eyes. The event was presented as educational. However, the fair did not show Filipino life as it actually existed. Organizers selected specific people, the practices, and images that supported a colonial message. Certain cultural practices were recreated because they attracted crowds and attracted the tourists to think that this is what the Filipinos would do. And the participants were treated less like complete human beings and more like attractions. They were visible, but they were not truly understood. It was basically like being placed on display while someone else wrote your biography, and they did not even ask you whether if it's accurate or not. The fair created a clear comparison. American was presented as modern and civilized. Filipinos, on the other hand, were presented as primitive people who supposedly needed American leadership. Which, did we really need that American rule? Because this was not a neutral representation. This supported the argument that American colonialism was the hierarchy and necessary for Filipinos to develop and also just live through their lives. And I guess I pictured this as the people in power were holding the pencil. They decide how Filipinos could be drawn, labeled, and remembered. The film Bontoc-ology challenges a colonial image. In the film, the narrator searches through photographs, archivable footage, historical records, and family memories to learn about Marcud, a Bontoc man who are one of the Filipinos who attended the World's Fair. At first, the film feels like a documentary about family. Later, the audiences learn that parts of the narrative were constructed. When I first learned about this, my reaction was basically, wait, so was Marcud real, or was he not? But that confusion is part of the film's message. Colonial archives preserve the voices of officials more clearly than the voices of people being shown on screen. There may be photographs of indigenous Filipinos, but many of their names, emotions, and personal experiences were never recorded. Bontoc-ology uses imagination to reveal what official history was left behind. The film doesn't accept the colonial archive as complete. Instead, Marlon Fuentes rearranges images from history and examines them from a Filipino perspective. This showed me that the same medium can be used in different ways, from different perspectives. A camera can be used to objectify people, but a camera can also expose injustice. A film can repeat stereotypes, but it can also challenge them. Technology is not harmful or liberating. What matters is who controls it and what story they choose to portray. Modules 1 and 2 also made me think about my own Filipino identity while living in Hawaii. Filipino identity is influenced by family, language, history, migrations, traditions, education, and of course, popular culture. American and Western influences can also be part of the everyday Filipino life. Having these influences does not automatically make someone less Filipino. Culture has never remained frozen. It changes how we move, adapt, and interact with everyone else. The problem starts when foreign culture, say America, is treated superior and Filipino culture is treated as embarrassing and outdated. Only valuable when it entertained other people. And being Filipino is more than just food, dances, costumes, accents, and jokes. Those things can mean a lot, but they are not the whole entire story of being a Filipino. My biggest lesson from Module 1 and 2 is that representation is never neutral. Someone is always choosing where to point the camera, which points out what to include and which voices to leave outside of the frame. Popular culture can repeat stereotypes and colonial ideas. However, it can also help people remember, resist, and reclaim their identity, like my parents perhaps. Before these modules, I mostly ask whether something was entertaining. Now I ask, who created this picture? Why was it created? Whose perspective does it represent? And what might be missing? We cannot change every picture created in the past, but we can question those pictures, learn from them, and make better ones for the future. Filipinos should not only appear inside stories created by other people. We can also be the writers, the filmmakers, the artists, the scholars, and also just the storytellers, because it's our story. Are Filipinos only being seen or being understood? The question is not only whether Filipinos are visible, the real question is whether Filipinos have control over how we are represented. It is time for us, myself, my parents, and everyone else to hold the pencil and tell our own stories.